Hey friends, welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. This is the second part of our interview with Senator Greg Hembree. We've learned a lot about his life already and what shaped him into the man he is. And we'll continue our interview. So Senator, thank you for another.
Yeah, good to be back.
Good day.
Yeah.
Where we were at in the story was you were thinking about, contemplating running for solicitor.
Right.
So tell us about that.
Well, it was a pretty interesting time, obviously. I look back now, if I had known then what I know now, I never would have run.
Really?
Yeah, because I would have been too intimidated. Ignorance really was bliss. I would have been too intimidated to take on such the campaign. I mean, the job, I wasn't worried about doing the job, but the campaign itself, if I'd have talked to somebody that was a professional campaign consultant, they would have laughed at me. I'm like, you're crazy. You're going to need $100,000, and you're going to need this, you're going to need that. And had I done that, then I just didn't have the money to do that, to even ask that kind of advice. So I just decided, my wife and I, we prayed about it, we thought about it and suffered over it a bit. I talked to my city council about it. They were all for it. They were 100% behind me, which was really, that's pretty special.
Absolutely.
And would have been essential. And I told them, I said, if anybody here doesn't want me to do this, I signed up with y'all. Mm-hmm. I mean, this isn't what you agreed to at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And to a man, to a woman, they were all like, absolutely, positively, we think you should give it a try. And we're terrific, just wonderful supporters, financially, just gave me flexibility to be able to do the things I needed to do. So it was really a meant to be kind of thing. Just found some key people along the way. It was perceived to be, and it was a real David and Goliath kind of a campaign. Mm. And that was true. And I had only been here 4 years, and I didn't know. I mean, I knew some people by now,
right?
But it wasn't like I had this. I grew up here, I went to high school. I had no base in Horry or Georgetown County before I started. So other than the people I'd met in the time as city attorney. So, but you find some key people that'll work really hard, help you out, and you know how that feels. Mm-hmm. You've been to that rodeo. And we just sort of, I had a pretty good plan. I had a pretty good campaign plan on how I was going to do it and where I was going to focus my efforts and where I thought the votes were to win the campaign,
right? And
the ones I needed to leave alone. The areas that I'm not going to, I'm going to stay away from your strength. I'm not going after you there. I'm going to beat you with my strength and
right.
or what I can build. And we had it was just a fantastic experience. You didn't know whether to be elated or to start crying any given day. Again, I know these are things that you have felt.
Were you running against an incumbent?
I had a 2-term Democrat incumbent who was perceived to be you can't beat him. There's no way you're going to beat him. And then I had 2 Republican opponents.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, the guy in the primary. One was Jane Spillane, Mickey Spillane's widow from Murrells Inlet, who's not a lawyer, but you didn't have to be a lawyer at the time. It was the craziest thing.
Wow.
So
is that changed now, or
yeah, it's changed? Yeah, but she was mad as could be about a particular case that the previous solicitor had handled, and she was just she was going to crucify him. They're going to use this as her platform. And she was an interesting character, and we got to be pretty good friends. And then the deputy solicitor, the chief deputy of the existing solicitor, decided to run, which was really weird because he was, he worked for the other guy, So what are you going to do if you win the primary? You're going to run against your boss. I mean, it created a lot of weird dynamics in the courthouse. Not for me. It didn't matter to me. Right. We had a primary. I came in second in the primary. Jane Spillane pulled enough votes to push us to a runoff. Then we had the runoff. I won the runoff, and it was pretty close, but I won the runoff. And then the general election, I won pretty big. So, and then that was in 1998. And I served as solicitor for 14 years, the elected solicitor for 14 years, wow. And it was a terrific, just a perfect. I love that work. It was a great job. Yeah.
Is it you just talked about the campaign, but until you done it, it's
You don't
something.
know.
Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts of that period of time?
Yeah.
It was just tough, or
Well, it was hard. I mean, it was a lot of hard work. You put your family through some rough patches that are tough, and there were days when Renee I'd come home, she's crying, because it's just driving her crazy,
Yeah.
and I mean, maybe not anything really specific, just sort of generally it was hard. And then but she was my greatest supporter, and without her I wouldn't have, probably wouldn't have ever done it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. I tell people all the time about public life and being a candidate in particular. It's not nearly as sexy as it looks.
It's tough.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And there's some little bit of, I guess, stroking and ego pumping up that happens, but if you're a well-adjusted person, you see that for what it is. It's just that's cotton candy. That doesn't do anything for you. So
you got to be there for the right reasons.
Yeah, and doing it for the right reasons makes all the difference.
Yeah.
I think having some life experiences is really important, because you got to have real good foundations, not to get pulled into some places you don't want to go to.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, and solicitor's not quite like that. It's not the same as a state house seat or even a county council seat. It's a job. You're being elected to do a job, and so all I got to do is run a good manage my office well. Keep my nose clean. Keep not give them anybody any. I mean, if you're going to be the conscience of the community as a prosecutor, you better behave.
Yeah. So tell us about getting elected, setting your office up there, and just getting started.
Yeah, it was. The transition was kind of weird, because I'm a total outsider. I wasn't even part of the Columbia lawyer crowd.
Right.
Not Columbia. I'm sorry, the Conway lawyer crowd. So that guy in North Myrtle Beach. What's up with that? I mean, I knew a lot of people, but I really wasn't in the clique. But that's I found it to be a great spot to build an office when you don't have all this emotional baggage, all these relationship baggage that you're carrying around. You can just call the shot. I mean, what's the best thing for the office? What's the best thing to build a great office? And so it gave you a lot of freedom to do that. But Autry, it took me 2 years to get that office mostly where I wanted. You never get there all the way, but I came pretty close, and in 14 years. And things would change. Something changes and you got to kind of go a different direction.
Yeah.
But you got to be nimble too. But it took 2 years hard. It was the hardest I ever worked in my life.
Yeah.
Was those first 2 years as solicitor.
So tell us your parameters, your principles, the way you looked at it. And it's hard to talk about your life. It's hard to talk about even the job in that, but like what's your principles? What guided you when you were in?
Yeah, that's not hard for me to answer. Okay. I got a lot of chances to think about it, along the way. But with the solicitor's office, you have no friends to reward nor enemies to punish. You just have cases to prosecute, and you want to do it. You want to treat everybody fairly. And where you don't see these great disparities on the same case. This is kind of the what the case is worth. This is sort of what we do. We treat everybody the same way. You treat people with respect. You treat defendants the way that you want to be treated. If just because they're charged with a crime doesn't mean they're not a human being who gets their feelings hurt. Yeah. And you need to treat them with respect. And I found, quite frankly, doing that they. I want to say it like I didn't do it to manipulate people, but people were more willing to trust that what you were offering them was reasonable if you treated them with respect. And so it was a lot about that. But I think, and quite frankly, the politics, party politics, has no place in that at all.
Yeah.
None. I mean, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever. You broke the law. It's based on the facts and the evidence.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about.
Yeah.
Facts and evidence. So you're okay. We know you did this. You are guilty of this. Now we got to figure out what's the right thing to do with you.
Yeah.
So you sort of have two parts of that equation. What did they do? That's the science of it. what are you going to do with them? That's the art of it. So,
I got 2 questions on that, and we got to travel fast. A lot I want to cover. But how many death cases, murder cases, death cases did you have? In
gosh,
I mean, just run.
Murder cases. We had, I don't know, in 14 years, probably 30. No, more than that. Let's see. Well, 250.
Oh, wow.
And maybe 300. Some sort of death case. But it was over a 14-year period, so it's a long time. Death penalty cases, I tried 10 of those when I was there.
10 of those.
So, first on a death penalty case, the very first factor is you have to have a statutory aggravating circumstance. So, not all murder cases qualify for the death penalty. So, you have to have that statutory. It could be the murder of a child under 11. It could be the murder of a law enforcement officer in the carrying out of his duties. There's a list, essentially, a statutory list. Second thing is, for me, the guilt against that person has to be ironclad. If there's some question, any question about this person's guilt in this case, then you don't need to be looking at the death penalty. You need to be looking at something different. So that would have been number 2. The third factor, and this was the one that this is definitely more subjective, but it's very important, is what I'd call it, I've been interviewed before about it, call it the X factor. And that's, what is it about this case that makes it so shocking, so repugnant to your sensibilities of right and wrong, that you go, whoo, that guy needs the death penalty. And it could be the level of planning that someone put into a case. It could be the brutality. It could be, if it was a police officer, I was going to seek the death penalty on all of them. I mean, if you're going to kill a police officer, you'll kill anybody. So you just don't care. And the guys need to know you got their back. I mean, they need to know that they're, when they go out on the street, that if something happens to you, don't worry, we're going to seek the death penalty. And I unfortunately had several of those cases when I was there. So anyway, it was, but those are the key factors.
I appreciate you answering that. So my question on this, kind of finish up solicitor's days, is you're a family man, you're a gentleman. I mean, it's easy to see that you're just a true man. And you're dealing with some of the heaviest things of life, death, murder, bad crime. And you go home to your family life. How did you balance that? How did you, I mean, I can just be entrenched in evidence, per se, and then go home and have dinner. Bring me into that world.
I remember one case where I was getting ready, and I was home on a Sunday night. We put the kids to bed, and I've got photographs, and I've got our big dining room table, kind of got it all, just kind of looking at it all. Like you see on these TV shows where they put it on a big board or something. But I didn't have a big board. I put it on the table. And I was out of the room for something, went to the bathroom or something. My wife walks by, and she sees these bloody, gory, crime scene photographs, and she's like, Greg, get in here. And it's like, you can't leave these out for the kids. I was like, I'm not, but that's a good reminder. It's in our home. And so I really tried to it was kind of like, maybe I need to not do this at home. If I got to do it, just stay at the office, go work late. It's okay, go in early, which really suited me better. But so I think you get trained for it is the best answer. I don't think it's for everybody, because I think some people are so empathetic, so deeply empathetic to others, that they can't shake it off. If they go home, they're just swimming in the horror of it all the time. And I was, whether it was genetic or I learned it as a skill or a little bit of both, that I could just kind of flip it off and say, okay, that stays at the office, and I get home, I'm going to focus on the people that are here, and not be thinking about my own issues. So I could process it pretty effectively. And I think that's, I know part of it's training, because I know, looking back as a young prosecutor versus later in my career, I got better at that skill.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what brought an end to that season of your life?
And it was, gosh, we had great people. I had such a great team, and so it was kind of at a place where it was, I don't want to say it was running itself, but the need to captain the ship was not as great. I think that was part of it. I like to build stuff more than I like to maintain stuff. And so I think my dad had always told me, and I'd been a prosecutor at this point for 25 years. So you know, when I finished, so I'd been doing it longer than just being the elected. But Dad had always said, "Son, you want to leave a job a year early, not a year late."
Good advice.
It's good advice. And because he had seen guys that hung around longer than they should have in certain jobs, and I could tell, you know, I hit, year 13, 14, and it was getting like Tuesday wasn't quite as much fun as Monday was. You know, it was wearing me out. I mean, I had I finally figured out, I'm just like, what's wrong with me? And it's like, I'm just getting tired. You know, I'm just getting worn out from this because it's a stressful job. I mean, I'm not trying, I loved it, but there was a lot of stress, not just with the cases. Shoot, the cases, the stress was managing 100 people, including 25 lawyers. That was, well, you know, you manage a lot of people. So that's a lot more stressful than the rest of it. And they would do things that, you know, make you crazy. And you're in a political setting too. So if they screw up, that's on me. So anyway. So I knew I was I knew I was not going to run for a 5th term. I'd been elected in my 4th term, and so, I wasn't really, I never had planned to go to Columbia and be in the General Assembly, ever. I didn't want to go to Washington, didn't want to go to Columbia, but I wasn't ready to go home either. I mean, I was pretty young. So, anyway, the Senate seat, it was almost, that Senate seat was going to get a new senator, and we had almost elected somebody that would have been a bad choice a few times before. So thought maybe I ought to take a look at that. That's kind of how it got me started on that.
Good deal. So was elected?
Yeah. I ran in 2012. I ran in 2012, and but I knew about a year before. I kind of made a plan, and I had it figured out what I was going to do, and went to see our previous senator who'd been in that seat for many, many years. He was a Democrat, really good guy, and but he was not going. The seat had been redrawn. The map we'd gone through the census in 2010. The map had been significantly redrawn, and there was no way that a Democrat could hold that seat. It didn't matter who. Bill Clinton couldn't have gotten elected to that seat. I went to see him and told him I was going to run, and that was an interesting conversation, as you might imagine. And then we began the campaign. And initially, he was going to run, and then he ultimately decided he was going to retire. So I was glad, and we were friendly. You know, we had been friendly. We had never been, we weren't political adversaries except for that little space of time we were running against each other.
Spivey Boyd case, which was in your district, which you had nothing to do with.
Right.
But I want to ask you this: your thoughts, anything you want to share, just because being a solicitor and state senator, your thoughts on that, and then I want to follow that up with a question just after that.
Sure. It really boils down to the stand your ground law.
Okay.
And I remember I was solicitor when that law was passed. I wasn't in the Senate, but I remember when it was passed. And even at that point in time, prosecutors around the state were having conversations, me included, about the problems this law could cause. And that it expanded self-defense in such a profound way that we just predicted there were going to be problems. There have been some that's been around now for quite a long time, about 20 years. So we've got enough experience. We've kind of seen it evolve, and you've got precedent now that has been written to give guidance. But it is a very aggressive self-defense claim. But that's what the law is. The Attorney General knows the facts better than I do. His perception, his belief is that defense is available now, that it applies in this case. We're going to get to see in a couple of months. There's going to be a court hearing. I mean, a judge is going to look at it too. Based on what I know about the case, I think it applies. I agree. Do I think it's a horrible set of facts? Absolutely. Do I think it was a situation that could have easily been avoided and should have been avoided? Absolutely. But that's, all that being said, was it right morally? Probably not. But to the letter of the law, I think it applies here.
We got good policemen. but leadership has come up. As you know, we got an Horry County Police Department and a Sheriff's Department. We're the last one in the state that has that. My question is this: do you think that it being all under the sheriff that we could have better leadership, and then we can? I like electing our officials. We can hold them accountable.
Right. I like the sheriff's model. I always have. Back in 1998, this was an issue. So the first public stand I took on this was during the solicitor's race in 1998, and this was going on back then and going on ever since. It's not a commentary on any failure by county police. It doesn't mean the county police system can't work. It can. I think with the ups and downs that happen within any big department, whether it be county police, solicitor, pick one, DSS. Those are going to happen. Those are going to come and go. I think I think we've had overall the county police is a good entity. So it's not against the county police, but the sheriff is a constitutional officer that's mandated to be elected. The only reason we have a county police at all was based on an old political dispute back in the 50s. That's not a good foundation for a system. Could it work? Yeah, it can work. Is it working now? I think mostly it is. I think they're in pretty good shape from what I see, and I don't see it like it used to as prosecutor. But that being said, you've still got this office out there that is going to be elected by the people. And quite frankly, I like the fact that you got one person in charge. For good, bad, or ugly, you got one person in charge. If it's not going well, it's on you. Where now it's diffused. I mean, the responsibility is diffused. Well, it could be the chief, but it could be county council here, county administrator. You've got so many levels of governance over this department that the chairman, then you got the county council, and then you got, like I say, you got department heads, then you got the sub department heads, you got the county administrator, then it's the sub administrators, and then and only then do you get to the police department itself. That's what 4 layers I can come up with before you ever get to the police department. Then you got the chief, and then then it starts all over again. That's a lot of government that I don't know really serves any superior purpose. And I think I like having to say that guy's in charge. We need to, if he's screwing up, let's take care of that. That can happen. And we've had, quite frankly, in the last 10 years, we've had a number of sheriffs in South Carolina who've gotten in trouble or had to resign or been kicked out of office for one reason or another. So you can have, that's the thing. When it goes bad, kind of go really bad. Yeah. That's the other side of it too. And if I were on the other side, I might argue that point. That I've got 11 bosses to watch me, or how many ever county council people we got. You could it's a legitimate argument.
Yeah. But I appreciate you answering that. Certainly your own education.
Chair of the education.
Lots of good things there. But I want to focus in on too is power, data centers in South Carolina. I think that's an issue you've been talking about or whatever. And their need for power in South Carolina.
Yeah, we had a lot of debate over the last 2 years because we debated a pretty substantial energy bill, and data centers became sort of a hot button in that debate that went on for weeks. The data centers are energy gobblers. On the one side, we don't want to put demand by increasing the number of data centers in South Carolina. You don't want to increase demand to the point that it now is costing residential customers more for their power.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
That's like the true north in this whole debate.
Thank you for saying that, Senator. It's important.
We got to look out for our customers first. And Santee Cooper understands that. They're getting that. On the other side, AI is here. It's not coming.
And everybody uses it.
Everybody's using it.
They can say what they want.
And it's going to take off from here. And you don't want South Carolina to be some sort of laggard when, we're kind of not in the equation because we don't have the presence here. So we've got to figure out a way. The challenge is trying to figure out how to balance those two things, where you can participate, in the industry at the same time, not leave your customers out to dry. And that's where we are.
Yeah, really quick, shifting, tremendous growth in Horry County, as we all know. Roads, infrastructure, we talk about a lot. But there's even been some talk about this year, maybe the state government jumping in and trying to, I don't know what the right term is, put some parameters, but help with growth maybe. We're having some infrastructure in place. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it's a really tough problem. I mean, you know, like all our problems. If they were easy, we'd have had them fixed already. Yeah. We fixed the easy stuff first. I mean, and this one is very hard because land use planning and growth is almost exclusively a local government function. Cities and counties.
Home rule.
Home rule, which is, in my view, I'm a home rule guy. You know, came up through local government, as I mentioned. You know, I see the benefits of it when it works right. All right, when it's working well, it's the right model. But in this conversation, if the growth is out of control, what do you do? I mean, it's not working well. What do you do with home rule when it's not working well, right? And so this, with the growth we're having, it's all being done at the local level. We're hearing about it. It doesn't feel like it's being addressed at the local level every place. I'm sure there are the places where they're dealing with it effectively. You're not hearing about it, right? So we're looking, and where those conversations are starting. And I mean, I think it's a couple-year project, but looking at, are there statewide policies that we can implement to either tap the brakes on the growth or grow smarter. And I'll give you an example. If we were to pass a law that says if a county wants to permit this much density on a certain corridor, Highway 90 comes to mind, they want to choose to do that, they're able to do it, but they now take over the maintenance of Highway 90. They own it. So if you want to do it, you don't do just the easy parts where you get the money. You do the hard parts too, where you pay the money, and you got to take the whole. You take the whole tamale.
It'll make them think a little harder.
Well, now they can't just go approve, and then turn around and look at me and say, Senator, we need a $750 million road improvement right here. What? I mean, $750 million? What, are you crazy?
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, you know, you can be you don't have to be responsible because there's no consequence directly to you. And then when the voters look at you and say, how come you let this happen, Mr. County Councilman? Oh, that road, that's Hembree's. That's a state road. I can't do anything about it. So I think there are, you know, that's an idea.
I thank y'all for looking at it. I think we got to have the conversation.
Yeah, we've got, and there's talk of having doing a special task force, you know, that really does the deep dive on it, because it's a deep issue. It's got a lot of pointed edges.
Thank you so much for being here today. Please come back.
My pleasure.
We got so much more to talk about. Thank you for your service to our county. Thank you for putting bad guys behind jail. Thank you for working for Horry County.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm glad everybody hired me, and I love my job almost every day. So, but it's a great job, and it's been a blessing to be in public service. So, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being here. Thanks, folks. Please come back.